Hey everybody, welcome back to the Laps Comic Van. I'm Steve, and today we're talking Marvel's 2022 Gambit #1. Mon ami? So if you guys like what I'm doing, hit the subscribe button if you aren't, and always remember to put your thumbs in the upright position. Alright, so this is kind of cool. This is a Chris Claremont book. He's back writing for some of the X-Men, I guess. Well, at least Gambit. I don't know what else he's writing. I'm not the biggest Marvel guy. I am trying to get back into Marvel. I picked up a bunch of back issues of things. So hopefully I get some of this right. And if I don't, you could always just make fun of me in the comments. Yeah, so Chris Claremont is the writer, and Sid Kotion, or Koshane, I don't know how to say his last name, it's Kotian, is the artist. So a small history of Gambit. This is taken from Marvelpedia. The character was created by writer Chris Claremont and artist Jim Lee, drawn by the artist Michael Collins. I believe for his first couple of appearances. Gambit made his first appearance in Uncanny X-Men Annual 14, July 1990, and the Uncanny X-Men 266 from August of 1990, of which Claremont will harken back to a lot of his older writings, which is really, really cool. I like that. I had to go back and look up some stuff because I didn't have those. And I tried to get a couple of issues off of Comixology. I could only find one. I wasn't able to get the other one. So hopefully I have enough information here for some of this to make sense. The comic starts off in Cairo, Illinois on a normal street where a young girl on a skateboard rushes by a man in a suit, bumps into our man Gambit. The man yells out for someone to stop the girl because he thought she stole his wallet, but he checks his pocket and the wallet is there. Later on, we see Gambit meeting up with the girl he calls Ro. This is a young Storm. He says she did well. The man was so glad to see his wallet, he didn't even realize she was just putting it back. Storm wants to know why he has her do this type of stuff. Gambit tells her it's not about getting his money, it's about seeing what she can do, and how good she is. Ro wants to know what's next. They're gonna bust into the man's safe at his home. Outside this giant house, Gambit instructs Ro to find a way in and disable the locks and alarms and let him in. She scales up the side of the house and sees a chimney as the easiest way to get in. But when she looks down the dark shaft of the chimney, she freezes up and has a PTSD episode. It seems our little Ro is claustrophobic. Trying to fight back the trauma, she reminds herself that she's not that scared little girl anymore. She's a fighter. She sees a different way in. A window secured with an alarm. She uses her mutant powers to short out the security system. Success. She's in. But Gambit is already there taking the money out of the safe. He swiped and copied the man's key yesterday. Again, she wants to know why he had her do all of this stuff, and she soaks him with a small storm she conjures above his head. Gambit tells her they did good, and the money will go to people who need it. And the papers he stole. Well, if a man doesn't want a scandal, he better behave himself. This is kind of neat. You know, the comic starts off in Cairo, Illinois, because that's what you think of when you first hear Cairo, is Illinois. But we get the meetings between Storm and Gambit, and they're kind of a thief duo. He's training her, and she kind of is rebellious. She wants to know why he's having her do all these things, and he's like, I just want to see what you can do. And it's kind of cool. They're developing a rapport, but he's also teaching her how to not be seen, how to do things, how to slip through here, through there, because he is a thief, and that is his whole, besides dressing ridiculously and sticking out like a sore thumb as a thief, because, the way that this starts off with them walking down the street and Storm putting the guy's wallet back, it's kind of funny because Gambit looks just ridiculous. I know his costume is cool and it's neat, but like when you're trying to blend in with other people, I don't think a lot of people are going to be like, hey, that weird guy with shin guards, a trench coat, and whatever the hell this thing is. He doesn't look suspicious at all. So the big thing that's happening right here is he's teaching her thieving tricks. That she puts back this guy's wallet. He ends up thinking that someone took it, which she did. But whenever he checks his pants, it's like, oh, I have it. He was just so happy to have it back. He didn't realize she was the one that put it back. And they end up going to that guy's house later. And this is where we get a little bit of what Storm's about. Gambit has her go up and break in, but when she tries to go, at first she goes to the chimney because it looks like an easy way to get in, but she has her claustrophobia kick in when she looks down the chimney. So she has a PTSD moment, something from her past with her mother. She was falling, and they kind of show that, which is good for character background, especially if you don't know a lot of this stuff, because like I said, a lot of my X-Men information comes from, I was reading X-Men in the early 90s, but I don't remember a lot of it. I know my brother was real big into X-Men, and that's kind of how I got into Marvel. I was, like I said, always a DC guy. But there was a lot of, Chris Claremont does a lot of harkening back to older books, and you'll see later what I'm talking about. Whenever she finally finds another way to get in, Gambit's already in there, and she's like, what the hell did you have me do all this for? Like, come on, man. You made me do the wallet thing, and it was for nothing, and now you made me do all this, and you're already in here getting all the money. What the hell, Gambit? He tells her, hey, this money's going to do good for people that need it, and apparently that guy had some very malicious paperwork on him. Apparently he's done some wrong things, because if you don't want a scandal, you better behave yourself. Over the next couple of pages, we get kind of a big story moment in what this comic could be leading to down the line. Not right in this issue, but the main antagonist for Storm is the Shadow King, and it seems to be that the Shadow King has taken over a new body in the form of an FBI agent named Reese. And Gambit and Storm are kind of, peeking in on him and seeing what's up. And Storm has this vendetta against him, and she wants to show him that she's not afraid. And it's kind of funny because Gambit's like, listen, the first time I met you, he had you cold, man. That's not how I remember it. And that's one of the first times I had to go, okay, where's the thing? And then the liner notes, it had which issue it was in. And I had to go back and find that issue. So they're kind of talking about that and how she's no match for the Shadow King right now. And she's like, well, what do you want me to do? Run away? And he says, sometimes that's the only safe play. She disagrees because she's stubborn. She wants to make the Shadow King suffer. And Gambit likes that. He likes her style. I think that's why he sees some of himself in her. But then he notices that Reese has company.
Two women approach the Shadow King. One of them is Dr. Moira McTaggart, and she is instantly put under his psychic ability. He communicates to her that he hopes she is enjoying his game, especially since he is winning. Gambit notices right away that something isn't right. Not too far away, a police officer is chasing a young girl. Storm takes the cop down and handcuffs her to a wall. Before Storm can check on the girl, she is hit from behind. 4 girls surround Storm, furious with her that she ruined their ambush, and it's time to teach her a lesson. The 4 girls jump a confused Storm, who was just trying to help. The girls are going to make her pay. This is their turf. Gambit jumps in and separates the girls with a throw of his cards, not hurting them, but enough to let them know he means business.
We get to see a little bit of what the Shadow King is about. 2 women approach him. One of them is Dr. Moira McTaggart. You'll know her from Muir Island, and if you've watched the cartoon, she did a lot of stuff with Charles Xavier. If you read the House of X and Powers of 10, you'll know she plays a huge factor into that. She's a big character in the X-Men lore, and she's instantly put under the Shadow King's psychic ability. And he kind of messes with her, and he's like, this was easy. I hope you're enjoying the game that I'm playing because I'm winning. So something is going on. He's been, like they said before, he's been taking the souls of people, and I don't know if this is a strategic move or if they have some business going on that we don't know about. But it did tell you in the liner notes that if you wanted to see what the end of this confrontation was, you could go back to the old X-Men comics, the Muir Island saga, The Uncanny X-Men number 278. So again, he harkens back to some of his old writings. Right away, Gambit notices something is wrong. And then we cut to a police officer chasing down some girls, and Storm comes and takes the cop out. And before she can even see if the girl's okay, she gets hit in the back of the head. Storm gets up, she's surrounded by 4 girls, and she's confused. She's like, I'm just trying to help, and they jump her. And they say, we're gonna make you pay, this is our turf. So they're gonna go in on her, but Gambit was trailing behind her, and he just throws his cards. Not enough to hurt him, enough to know that he means business. Here's a bunch of girls, they just went flying. And this kind of sets up the next couple of pages. The girls are super mad and they threaten Gambit, but before they can do anything, this woman shows up and asks her cadets what's going on. The woman is named Sabine. She is the leader of these young girls. Gambit knows her, and she says, Gambit, we have a problem. She says a challenge has been issued to Storm. She can decline, but Storm, nah. Storm accepts. Storm wants to see how good this girl can fight in a fair fight. Storm's gonna fight a girl named Jazz, and while they're fighting, Gambit asks Sabine if she knows anything about the FBI agent Reese. Sabine thinks Reese is the new avatar of the Shadow King, and that's actually why she's here. The girls she is with are just trainees, and if she knew that the Shadow King was here, they wouldn't be.
The fight starts with one of the cadets named Jazz, and she's getting the upper hand. Gambit explains to Sabine why they are chasing the Shadow King. It's personal with Ro. She's stubborn. Sabine thinks that's all the more reason to leave while he still can, or leave Storm behind to fend for herself and not look back. Gambit can't do that and wonders if Sabine could do the same for one of her girls. She wouldn't. She would kill the girl as mercy. Gambit can't do that. He's got a mystery to solve. Sabine is puzzled, but realizes that Gambit really likes Ro. She tells Gambit if the Shadow King has her in his sights, she's already doomed, and he's a fool for staying by her side. It will cost him dearly. Jazz has been beating on Ro this whole time and finally gets her on the ground. She moves in for the finishing strike, but Ro blocks Jazz's punch and turns the tide of the fight. Jazz never sees Ro's kick coming, and just like that, the fight is over. Sabine takes her cadets and leaves, but gives Gambit a warning that his protege has made enemies and he needs to be careful. Gambit asks Ro if she still feels stupid about her decision to go after the Shadow King. She won't run, not anymore. If she does, he's already won. She has to show him that she's willing to fight, because for all that power, he's not a god.
While Storm and Jazz are fighting, Gambit's talking to Sabine about the Shadow King, and she kind of gives him a warning. She's saying, like, look, you should leave this girl. If she has problems with the Shadow King, she's already dead. You're done. Like, you gotta go. And he asks her, would you do this to your girls? And she's like, no. I would kill him as a mercy. And you're just like, good God. So this must mean, like, everybody is afraid of him, the Shadow King. And Storm just doesn't feel that way. Whatever is deep inside of her, whatever they're going to use that happened, she's out for blood. And Gambit's like, I just can't do that. There's a mystery to solve here, which is weird, and I want to know what that is. And this is where Sabine kind of realizes that Gambit actually really likes Ro. And she's like, look, man, one last warning, you got to go. Because if you stay with her, it's going to cost you dearly. So this whole time, Jazz has been kicking the crap out of Storm. And she finally gets her to the ground and goes in for this ground and pound, and Storm blocks it, gets the upper hand, does a nice uppercut, and then this kick comes out of nowhere. All the other girls are like, oh, like they couldn't believe it. And just like that, the fight is over. Sabine takes her cadets, but she gives a warning. She's like, look, Gambit, you gotta be careful. Your protege there has made enemies. Gambit asks Storm, do you feel stupid about your decision to go after the Shadow King? She's like, look, I won't run. If I run, he's already won. And we get, I thought, the coolest line in the book. She says, I have to show that I'm willing to fight, that I'm not gonna run, because for all his power, he's not a god. And I was like, oh, okay. She means business. And I like that, man. They're really making her out to be this really stand up for herself kid who has this claustrophobia but is trying to get over these things. And I'm sure that's going to play a part later on, because that's the one thing she didn't stand up to. She tried to, but she found another way into the mansion. So I'm hoping that they use some more of that later on in the book. So I want to know, what are Gambit and Storm trying to accomplish? Are they going to take out the Shadow King? Is he going to train her? I want to know, and there's some stuff coming up in the next couple of pages that we'll talk about after this. Storm says she's learned something from fighting Jazz. She's not strong with her powers yet, so she can't really hurt the Shadow King's body. And I don't know if this part here happened while they were up there poking around, watching the Shadow King, watching Reese. It kind of jumps here, so I didn't kind of get where this fit into the timeline of the book. She says she's going to poke his pride. That's where she's going to be able to get him. She's going to take him by surprise and make him feel stupid in front of the whole world. It'll drive him crazy, and crazy people, they make mistakes. The Shadow King reaches out with his mind and finds nothing, but he senses it's Storm who attacked him by throwing the pie in his face or whatever the hell happened that we don't really kind of see. She kind of whispers in his ear, and then a pie goes in his face, and she's out of there. And this is where the interesting part comes in. So she has the Shadow King's attention now. Time means nothing to this guy. Remember, he's supposed to be this timeless being that lives forever and has been doing this for a long, long time. He says he will claim the souls of her fellow X-people, and they will hunt her down, and they will bring her to him. So she's in the X-Men already, this young. Like I said, I have to read more books to see where this fits, and I don't remember from so long ago where this kind of fits in the timeline of the X-Men.
Gambit warns Ro that the Shadow King will come for her. She feels the longer he waits, the better for her, because look at what she can do now. Imagine her then. Gambit warns her not to get cocky and takes her legs out from under her with his staff, holding her to the ground, not letting her go. And he stares into her eyes with a seriousness that shakes her. He lets her up and tells her that he's making a point about how smug people get careless, and she can't be careless, especially with the likes of the Shadow King. Ro is a little angry and tells him not to do that again. Gambit says, "Learn to stop me." Ro wants to know what's next, and Gambit thinks her old business is finished for now. It's on to something new. We cut to somewhere far from Earth, and a bounty hunter is cashing in her latest bounty with a robot named Jedso. On the holo screen, the hunter notices someone named Lila Cheney, the best singer in known space, and even a better thief with a reward to prove it. She asks Jedso to see the screen enhanced on the background figure. It's Gambit. Jedso asks if it's someone she knows. It's a friend of Cheney's. She's been going after Cheney for a long time, but the catch is, Cheney can teleport between galaxies, making it almost impossible to catch her, but she's fiercely loyal to her friends. If they nab the guy, she thinks she can get Cheney.
Gambit's warning Ro that the Shadow King's gonna come for her. It's inevitable. And she kind of feels like the longer he waits, the better, because she'll be stronger and, it's good for her. But Gambit takes her legs out from right under her, and he won't let her up, and he stares into her and warns her about getting cocky, because smug people get cocky, and you can't be cocky around Reese, the Shadow King. And I agree with him, because if this guy is this terrifying and can do this right upon contact, if you just look at you and octopuses come out of him and take over your soul, then, that's a guy you don't want to screw with. Storm asks what's next, and he says, well, the old business is done. It's on to new business. And this is where I think knowledge of the X-Men universe comes into play. They cut to this place far from Earth, and there is a bounty hunter bringing in her latest bounty. And she gives the bounty over to this robot thing named Jedso, and she sees this girl on the screen named Lila Cheney, and she's apparently the best singer in the world. And she's also a thief with a reward to prove it. And she asks Jedso to close up on that holo screen, close up on the background image, and she sees Gambit. And Jedso's like, do you know who that is? She's like, it's one of her friends. And this woman has been chasing Cheney for a long time, but Cheney has the ability to teleport between galaxies, so she's extremely hard to catch, but she's very fiercely loyal to her friends. So she figures, I find him, I'll get her. And that's where the comic book ends. So I'm sorry for the review being very jumpy, and I just don't know enough about this, but I wanted to expand my comic horizons. I want to get more into the Marvel universe and get back, as much as I know about Marvel, you can fill that up in a glass. I don't know a lot, but I like Gambit. I've always liked Gambit, and I just wanted to start something different. But I liked it. I'm going to continue reading it. Don't know if I'll review. If you guys want me to continue that, that's fine. I will. The next on the show is going to be Dark Crisis 4, because I want to get through that. I want to get caught up and be current with it. And I don't know, man. What did you guys think? Has anybody read this Gambit story? What did you guys think? I do like how Chris Claremont gives information about, and he ties things from the old comics, so it gives people that have read those comics, it feels like you know a little bit more, especially more than me, who knows next to nothing. So, but this comic, man, I give the art 3.5, and I give the story, I don't know, I guess I give it a 3. I'm sure it's going to get better. The art is okay. Maybe I give it a 3. I give it both a 3. I'm going to say 3 for the art and 3 for the story. I know Claremont is a long-form storyteller because, he wrote the X-Men for so long. And I know things are going to pay off and they got to build up a lot of things. And I'm surprised at how much stuff actually happened in this issue. For a first issue, it's not bad. It's not bad. It set up a story with the Shadow King for later. It also set up Storm and how she's kind of rebellious and she's got a lot of fight in her. And it sets up Gambit as like the mentor figure. But he's also got some things about him that are going to play out in the future. And we get the bounty hunter who's going to be coming after him. So that should be very interesting. But yeah, I don't know. Leave some comments, guys, and if you got any requests, remember, I will always go out and get whatever you guys request. If someone makes a request and they say, hey, I want you to review this, I will. So just do that, and it'll be a lot of fun, and all that stuff. And woohoo! Yay! Look at me, I'm back! Yahoo! And all that jazz. I'm funny.